This deep learning and AI in football course is not cheap, and I need to tell you whether it's a complete waste of your time and money or whether it's worth it. Because here's the thing, if you've been looking to break into football analytics or football data science, you've probably seen the name David Sumpter everywhere. Soccermatics, 12 Football, and consulting with Premier League clubs in general. So when I saw that his company, 12 Football, was running a course teaching the exact methods they use with elite teams, I was all in. So let's break down exactly what's in this course, who it's actually for, because trust me, it's not for everyone, and more importantly, whether it's worth over $1,000 of your money. Full transparency though, my company actually paid for me to go on this course because it's part of my CPD, but it allows me to be completely honest on whether I would have paid my own money for it. And just a quick bit of context on me, I'm a senior data scientist already working in elite sport. And if you're new to the channel, I'll be teaching you all about sports analytics and giving you a look at what the life of a sports data scientist is like. The reason that I took this course was to dive deeper on the football specific element of things and to get an even deeper feel for what Premier League teams are looking for in data scientists right now. And not gonna lie, the fact that it was associated with David Sumpter was the final selling point. Okay, so is this course actually for you? To be fair, on their website, when picking between the different courses I wanted to go for, it was incredibly difficult to tell which one was the best to take. And I presume you would probably be picking between these three, but even if you read their descriptions, it's still kind of hard to tell which one is best suited. So to take the one that I ended up taking, I would say you have to be quite comfortable coding already, or at least have a strong understanding of coding concepts, but you don't have to be a genius. I'd say you need at least 6 months to a year of solid Python experience, and you need to be comfortable with basic things like pandas, but also understanding how machine learning models work at a conceptual level. Now, sure, with like AI tools, you could hypothetically get them to explain anything that you're weaker on, but do I think somebody who's fairly new to Python could handle the course load? I don't think so. That's because the concepts aren't being taught from scratch. They assume you already know what data science is, and now you're just looking to apply it to football. So if you're still learning what a for loop is, this course is not for you quite yet. Go build your foundation and then come back to this. And then in terms of football knowledge, you don't have to be some tactical genius. In fact, all you need to do is understand football to the level of an average fan, if that. Here's the thing, if you're already considering taking this course, it probably means you know enough from the football perspective to take this course. And the background of people in my cohort was actually pretty varied. Some were just interested to see what's possible with football and data, whereas others were already working as football data scientists in elite Champions League clubs, international teams. So it's pretty diverse in terms of who is on the course. So let's get into what you actually learn. And this course is pretty comprehensive. And the key thing to understand about 12 Football is they work directly with clubs and elite teams all over Europe. So they know the depth of knowledge required for football data scientists and what concepts actually matter in the real world. The structure of the program is that there are 8 core modules or sessions, some of which build upon each other and some are completely standalone. And honestly, I think if you're not somebody who's already been working in elite football for 3 or 4 years, you'll almost definitely learn something new from every single module. And that's what I really liked. It was tangible, practical, and applicable advice as opposed to technical fluff. And it does start off fairly simple. The first module is just focusing on the basics of working with tracking data and how to pre-process skill corner data. But then it quickly graduates to more involved and advanced concepts like graph neural networks, action valuations, and there's even a module on LLMs. And the great thing is that after each module, you get exercises to really solidify your understanding. And not only do you get the exercises, you also get the main notebook associated with each module. And that notebook is so well documented that you can almost use that as lecture slides. So it's super useful. Now, I do have one small criticism, and that was around the LLM module, which it was cool. But as somebody who works with LLMs quite a lot in my everyday job, and someone who's also taken dedicated courses from companies like Datalumina on LLMs, this module was quite surface level. I mean, you'll learn a couple of cool things, but nothing groundbreaking, in my opinion. However, this course is not about LLM, so it might be a little bit of an unfair criticism because the LLM module was probably just the cherry on top, but that's just me being honest. Now, throughout the entire program, you're working with Skill Corner data. And if you don't know, Skill Corner is a data company that uses optical tracking to quantify basically every movement that goes on the pitch. And it's obviously data that is literally used by clubs, so it's state of the art. And the great part is after the course ends, you get to hold on to that data so you can build even more projects once the course is done. Just obviously don't go publishing the data itself. Publish your projects, not the data. But yeah, it's super useful because you can then use that data to continually build your portfolio. Okay, so let's get to the practical reality of actually doing a course like this alongside a full-time job, because I can tell you it gets pretty demanding pretty quickly. Initially, they had planned for us to have 2 lectures a week, but the pace of that was ridiculous. And bear in mind, I was often able to attend the course during work hours because it was part of my CPD for my role. Pretty much everyone on the course had a full-time job, and people made the lecturers aware that this 2 lectures a week schedule was impossible to keep up. So the lecturers did listen and slowed it down. So it ended up being 1 lecture a week that was 2 hours. And obviously you can optionally put more hours in on top of that if you really want to push ahead. The only real deadline that we had was the final project. So there weren't deadlines just breathing down your neck every week. So if you have a busy week, like I did sometimes at work, you can sort of put a pause on that and then catch up in bulk a little bit later. In terms of delivery, the lectures are live on Zoom and they also get recorded and uploaded later. And the great thing is it's super interactive. The lecturers answer your questions as they come up. So you never go an extended period feeling lost because you can always just raise your hand, right? The main lecturer was Pega. She was great. She did most of the teaching, explained things very clearly and concisely. And then David Sumter himself did a couple of modules, and yeah, both of them great lecturers and quite engaging to listen to as well. But here's the thing, it wasn't just those 2. You also get Paul Power, who I think is the director at Skill Corner. And if you want a masterclass on how to make data science or football data science interesting, this guy is amazing at it. He just makes everything sound so interesting, so fascinating. Would recommend. But yeah, I want to give 12 Football props because they did just make sure that you understood the topics. They cared about people actually learning. And in addition to the 2 lecturers, guest speakers, they actually had 2 mentors who hosted like office hours. So if you're particularly struggling with something, you could just like schedule in to have a quick chat and they would go ahead and clarify that for you. There's also a Slack channel, which is fairly active if you need to contact people outside hours or you want to just chat with the rest of the cohort. But one thing, you do get kicked out of the Slack community at the end of your duration on the course. So if you're trying to make connections with other people, exchange details before you get kicked out. And for materials, yes, you get to keep access to the recordings and the notebooks and the data, of course. The last thing is the final project. So this is individual and completely open-ended. As long as you're working on a project to do with data and sport, it will be eligible. So it's actually not graded. The whole purpose is just to show them that you're actually going to go on and complete this project, and that's enough to sort of get your certification. But if you have something really specific and something you think can be useful in the real world in the short term, there's actually the scope to work with 12 Football after the end of your cohort to sort of develop a more holistic project and present it to the pros, as they call it. So will the certificate itself get you a Premier League job? Look, it's 2026, and if you think just having a certificate on your profile is going to get you a job in anything, you need to wake up, because having the knowledge is great, but the burden of proof of work is still on you. So you need to use the knowledge that you acquire to then have amazing projects that you can show off in industry if your plan is to get a job in the Premier League or whatever club. Okay, so the big question, is it worth over $1,000? Again, full disclosure, my company paid for it for me, but knowing what I know now, would I pay my own money? And the truth is I would. Because what you're paying for is the knowledge, which is great, but you get so much more beyond that, such as direct access to the lecturers whilst you're a part of the cohort. You get a ton of real-world Skill Corner tracking data, which you can then use to build projects going into the future. And just the structured learning for football data science specific concepts is so difficult to come across high-quality learning materials. So I would say it's definitely worth it. But you might have watched this and now you're thinking you're not quite there with your Python. The good thing is I've actually filmed a full video teaching you the fundamentals of Python, and you can check that out right here.